the second film to be produced in tandem with the American government to produce some more connection with Latin America. But these characters have gone on to create more of a presence outside of their own film. So what makes the Three Caballeros so special, and why is it that we know the characters before we know the movie? Hello, my name is Em, and I am currently on a journey where I am watching all of the Disney animated movies in chronological release order and ranking them on a tier list, as well as providing some history at the beginning of the video, because as a Disney historian, I feel that these movies need context as to the times, the places, and the people that created these films. The Three Caballeros premiered on December 21st, 1944 in Mexico City, Mexico. It then was released in February of 1945 in the United States. It was the first Disney movie to be released in the UK since Snow White. Because of World War II, a lot of the films were not being able to be produced or taken to Europe and released in Europe. And so this was the first one because of World War II and because of the conflict. And along with Saludos Amigos, this film was developed as part of the Good Neighbor policy, a campaign meant to create a friendly bond between the United States and the South American countries during World War II. And The Three Caballeros, like Saludos Amigos, is an anthology film with different segments. And in the movie, we see that to celebrate Donald's 10th birthday, we see the return of Jose, as well as the introduction of Panchito, who teaches us about Mexican culture and traditions. So in the movie, we see a little bit of Jose, and he has a few segments. But this is mainly about Panchito and him teaching us about Mexican culture. And the Flying Gauchito... Oh, I just said that so white. I apologize for my white pronunciations of everything. I swear I grew up in Southern California, but that does not hide the fact that I have lived in a different state for 2 years, and does not hide the fact that I am still a white person underneath my cover of Southern California-ness. The Flying Gauchito and The Cold-Blooded Penguin were produced at the same time as Saludos Amigos, but were not tied to Saludos Amigos, and then they were just added to The Three Caballeros. And The Flying Gauchito was based on material gathered on their South American trip in 1941, where they got the inspiration for Saludos Amigos. So there was another trip to Mexico that I'll talk about later, but the Flying Gauchito the inspiration was in that initial South American trip in 1941, not the trip to Mexico. And it was planned to be part of a series of shorts about gauchos, but the concept was later abandoned. And so a group of studio artists visited Mexico in late 1942 to early 1943 to get inspiration for reference sketches and to audition performers for this project. So they planned early on that this project would have a mix of live actors and animation. I'm guessing just because I don't know why you would audition performers if you weren't expecting to have a lot of live actors in the project. And the studio had planned for a third film titled Cuban Carnival, but it never happened. So there was actually supposed to be 3 movies. So there was supposed to be Saludos Amigos, The Three Caballeros, and Cuban Carnival. But Cuban Carnival never happened. And despite Disney having combined animation and live action in the past, this is the first time it was utilized in a longer sequence. This is probably the longest sequence that they had done to date, and the live action scenes were filmed at the studio in Burbank, California. For some scenes, the live performers were filmed in front of a rear projector that projected the animation, while in others, the performers were filmed with the live animation being added later. And special recordings were made of this film in 3 separate languages. My guess would be, just taking a guess, it would be English, Spanish, and Portuguese, just based on the characters of the movie. And according to The Hollywood Reporter, at the time it was released, it was the most successful American-produced film released in Latin America, even going to say it made significantly more than the White did in the U.S. I could not find an exact number for how much it made. The Hollywood Reporter did not say how much it made, but my source that I found quoted The Hollywood Reporter, but I don't know if I could find the exact Hollywood Reporter article. So I could not find how much it made in Latin America specifically. And The Three Caballeros was nominated for Best Scoring of a Musical Picture and Best Sound Recording at the Academy Awards, but they did not win. 2 unfinished shorts were restored and put on Laserdisc releases, Laughing Gauchito and I don't even know how to pronounce this. I am so sorry. So I'll just put it up on the screen right now. And by 1951, the film grossed about $24.5 million in the United States and Canada when adjusted for inflation. But I could not, like I said earlier, I could not find the number for Mexico or for Latin America as a whole, which I wish I did, because it said that The Hollywood Reporter said it did so well in Latin America, but I wish I knew how well it did. And the film was not received well critically, believing it had more flash and less substance than the other films produced by Disney. Donald's lust in the film also appalled a lot of critics, and honestly, myself. I did research, and Daisy was around back then. So all I gotta say is, Donald, you have some splaining to do because you had a girl at home. And I don't know, to me, if they had Jose or Panchito do what he did in the movie, I would have been pretty much okay. But I think the fact that it was Donald, I was like, Donald, go take a bath. An ice bath. Anyway, it aired as the 9th episode of the Disneyland series on ABC, as well as in 1954 and other years for the holiday season, where instead of Donald's birthday, the presents were for Christmas. The film was released into theaters in 1977, however, it was cut down to just 41 minutes, which I'll get into this later, but that is a choice I really, really agree with. There is a lot of filler in the movie. And I wish, I don't know, maybe I was just tired or bored that day and I just got really, really bored during the movie. But it dragged. And I didn't want to put it where I put it, but I did. And so it dragged a little bit. And so I do agree with the cutting down of the movie to 41 minutes. And The Three Caballeros has an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. Listen, when I bring out the Rotten Tomatoes statistic, I don't have much on it. And I hate to say that. And a lot of the music in the film existed as already released songs originated from the home countries but translated into English. Bahia was written by Arai Barroso, who also wrote Aquero do Brasil from Saludos Amigos. He also wrote Os Oquins de Yaya. Oh my gosh, I probably said that so wrong, but that's okay. And Mexico is the only original song in The Three Caballeros. And so now we're going to kind of get into the later things. So I am kind of a Disney theme park nerd. I also like Disney theme park history. In fact, I started on Disney theme park history before I kind of moved into movie history. And the Mickey Mouse Revue, which opened at Magic Kingdom in 1971, featured the three Caballeros singing their titular song. And they would find their way back to Disney World and Epcot in the Grand Fiesta Tour, which opened in 2007. So the Mickey Mouse Revue in the 80s went to Hong Kong when it opened. And then that version of the Mickey Mouse Revue closed, and then they'd find their way back to Disney World and Epcot on the Grand Fiesta Tour, which opened in 2007. And this ride features the original animatronics from the Mickey Mouse Revue. And these three have really grown to become cultural icons in the Disney sphere. Many TV show appearances on Mickey Mouse shows, anything you can name, you can name it. So, like, they were in House of Mouse. They've been in the Mickey Mouse, various Mickey Mouse shows in Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Mickey and the Roadster Racers, which was way after my time, but my research said it. So, and then they were also in the reboot of DuckTales. They're in an episode of DuckTales as well. And they've been in parades and attractions. They're in It's a Small World. For parades, they were in Mickey's Sensational Parade at Disneyland. And as well as they received their own show in 2018. And that's really all I have for history for this. I did not get a lot more than Saludos Amigos. And I'll be honest, I normally just use like a few sources, but I really had to outsource a little bit for this one, for the history and for stuff like that, because sadly there's not a lot about this movie. And it's really interesting to me how these icons have become so much more than their movie. Like, the three Caballeros are the three Caballeros. Like I said, they've grown to become cultural icons and in the zeitgeist, and they've been around, and they're walk around characters, and they're pretty significant. And yet it's one of those things where I'm like, when was the last time you watched the actual movie of the three Caballeros? Because I knew who these people were. I knew it was Donald, Jose, and Panchito. Or even before I knew their names, I knew they were the three Caballeros. But when was the last time you watched the three Caballeros? So, I encourage you to sit down and watch the three Caballeros if you haven't already. And now it is time for my husband and I's thoughts on the three Caballeros. So, we just finished the three Caballeros. I know why people don't watch this movie.
I liked it. There was the weird spot at the end, which was basically just 1940s brain rot, is what it was as a song. But it was still good.
I think it was fine. There was so much that just dragged. Like, Saludos Amigos, it was basically Saludos Amigos, but over an hour long. And that's my problem, is like, Saludos Amigos was perfectly fine, wrapped up in a 40-minute bow. It didn't get time to drag, whereas this one got a lot of time to drag, and it did.
To me, I kind of feel like most of that was probably because they wanted to give more time to Mexico, because Saludos Amigos was very, very Brazil and was very much about Brazil. Of course, you also had other portions elsewhere, but like at least the parts of Jose, it was all in Brazil. And so I kind of understand why they spent a lot more focus on like Mexico for Three Caballeros. But that being said, I feel like that it was maybe a little too long. Maybe they could have changed it where, like, instead of the little flower 1940s brain rot song at the end, they could have replaced it with, like, maybe Donald shows them around California or New York or something like that. I think if they replaced just that last little section with something short like that, because obviously this was made in America and was being seen by Americans. But I think that'd be fun. Just a little bit of like, Donald showing off, oh, you guys showed me your cultures. I'm going to show you a little bit of America.
The other problem is, like, they talked about Mexico, and they showed some parts of Mexico, but they didn't show, like, in Saludos Amigos, they showed the differences in South America, but they didn't in Mexico, because I know that there's places in Mexico where there's specific different things. They did show one tradition, and I really did enjoy that. But other than that, it was just, here's hot women in Mexico. Other than, like, one or two scenes, it was like, here's hot women in Mexico.
We talked about that, and I don't know for sure. So if so, Emma can fact check me or whatnot. But like, we don't know if Daisy existed at this time. She might have not. So like, to me, as weird as it is to kind of see Donald Duck be all awooga over the other women, I think it kind of makes sense because they're kind of trying to be portrayed as like a three bachelor bro party almost, especially with the way they act. That doesn't make much of it okay because they definitely do like catcall and stuff at a few parts, but I think it kind of does contextualize a little bit of what they're doing.
But again, that's another segment that went on too long, is Donald chasing hot women on a beach in Mexico. I was just sitting there like, I am so done with this movie. And it's not a bad thing. But the thing is, we got the Three Caballeros thing over very quickly in the iconic song. And so I was like, what else are we going to do here? What else are we going to do here? And I feel like you hear the Three Caballeros and like they become so much this symbol that when you go to watch the movie, it kind of like your expectations are pretty high. So I feel like you watch the movie and your expectations sink very, very quickly.
Well, I think part of it is just like, I think that last part needed more time to rewrite. I would say the second half of Mexico. The first half of Mexico is great. They talk about the Christmas tradition. There's the scene with the piñata with Donald. I think that's fantastic. But it's the second half of Mexico that probably needed some more time. And honestly, if I was the writer, I would probably cut it. And like I said, in replacement of maybe some fun, short little Donald Duck section where he shows them maybe New York, the Big Apple, or he could show them Disney and be like, oh, look, this is... Now, I don't think Disneyland existed at this time. Yeah, so this is back when it was just the studio. So, he just goes like, look, here's Disney Studio. Maybe they could even do like a little runoff gag where they meet Walt Disney or something like that. I think that would be funny. But yeah, regardless, that was kind of my thought. The second half of Mexico is really the weak point, which sucks because that's practically the ending.
And I think that I talked to you about what we want our rankings to be, but I think when we think of like our own tier list, which is S is Huzzah, a man of quality, A is, what is A? Walt approved, and then B is bare necessities, and C is classic but misses the mark. I feel like this goes into classics but misses the mark.
For me, if it does go into C, I think it's probably the top of C.
Yeah.
I would say it's either the really, really top of C or it's at, like, the medium-low point of B.
Oh, I'd put it behind Fantasia.
I put it above Fantasia.
Why?
Me personally. Well, because I told you before, I love Fantasia, but I fell asleep for more than half of it because I was struggling to stay awake.
That's because we watched it too late at night. I think you'd love it if we watched it during the day. If I put it on at like noon, I think you'd watch all of it. I think you'd sit and I think you'd watch all of it.
Maybe. Why am I fall asleep
At
again?
least passively. Passively you'd watch all of it. But I think part of that is I didn't realize it was 2 hours long. But so you can't really hold that against Fantasia. But with this, I would have 100%. I don't care if it's 8 p.m. I would have fallen asleep halfway through that movie. I'm tired right now. And bored. And so, I don't know. To me, it goes top of C. And that's where it's going to stay. Because I feel like it just does fit. It just does fit the category classic, but misses the mark for me.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean...
Come here.
I have maybe differing opinions, but they're not far off of a differing opinion. So, but yeah, that's really all I had to say about it. You have anything you want to add?
No. Don't watch this movie.
It's good.
This is one of the ones where I'm like, don't. It's good, but it's also not.
I would say if you're big into the three Caballeros as characters in other media, because I know they have been referenced and re-brought back. Well, obviously Donald is still around. So if you like them as a troupe, or you really like Donald, it's great. You maybe just want to skip the second half of the Mexico part, because it really kind of, it's the slow point of the movie.
It is the low point of the movie. But I do think that this might be the first movie to introduce animated characters into live action. So, I will say that.
Probably not the first movie, but I do know probably one of the first Disney did. Definitely.
I think it might be the first Disney one for
the
sure.
last one did that a little bit, and Reluctant Dragon did that a tiny bit, but not to the same degree as Three Caballeros does.
Yeah. I actually don't think that... Yeah. So, I'll figure that out. But I think that's all I have to say. What about you?
No, I don't really got much else. It's good overall, but, maybe not for every Disney fan.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, come back. You have to have closing remarks.
I told you I don't have any closing remarks. I just gave my closing remark twice. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. We're trying to do these as much as we can.
I've started school. We both started school and we're full-time students, so we're just going to pump it out when we can and when I can edit, because school has started for me. So if my uploads get more sporadic, that's why.
Something iconic.
Sing the song.
I don't know the song off the top of my head. With the three caballeros.
Keep going.
Three gay caballeros.
Keep going.
I don't know the rest of the lyrics.
They say we are birds of a feather.
They say we are birds of a feather. You don't know the lyrics either?
No, that's when they whistle.
Oh, the... That the right one?
Yep.
Or if not, close enough.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.